Be right back. playing Sir Gregor Clegane on HBO's Game of Thrones. No special effects needed here, folks. What you see on screen is the real deal when it comes to the Mountain. Sure, he may not crush cars or destroy buildings like the Marvel character, but Bjornsson is pretty strong. After all, he can lift a barbell made of tires that weighs over 1,000 pounds and throw a beer keg over 23 feet up in the air. Whew, that is good enough for us. So, have any ideas about who the tallest human ever reported was? The answer, Robert Wadlow. Officially measured in 1940, Wadlow came in at just a little over 8 feet 11 inches in total height. Evidence backing up this claim is considered irrefutable, so it's going to take some solid numbers by anyone hoping to break this long-standing record. Well, all this talk of real-life hulks has us planning to head on down to the gym to pump. Roads you would never want to drive on. Passage de Gois, France. This 4.6 special road French
Fucking Reaper.
Thanks to heavy rain and earthquakes. It is made all the more challenging by the fact that the road is extremely narrow in spots and has numerous blind corners which can be full-on surprises. Lose control or get bumped by another car? There's a good bet you are plummeting down the side of the mountain and becoming the latest victim of this infamous stretch of road. Skipper's Canyon Road, New Zealand. When your rental insurance won't cover you for driving on a road, you know it must be dangerous. Located in southwest New Zealand, Skipper's Canyon Road has all the characteristics you'd expect of a dangerous route. It is carved from the side of a mountain, has very little in the way of safety features and barriers, and is extremely narrow. In fact, this 16.5-mile stretch is so narrow that if two vehicles meet, one will often have to back up for some distance to find a pass wide enough to let the other pass safe. Halsema Highway, the Philippines. Situated 2,000 meters above sea level, this road is deemed the safest in the summer months of March and April. That's because over the rest of the year, heavy rainfall, fog, rock, and mudslides can turn this route into a nightmare. Tourists brave the risk to take in the amazing views of the landscape. Unfortunately, the dangerous environment combined with the fact that tour buses often drive far too fast on this rather narrow stretch means that every year there are many crashes and vehicles hit one another or simply off the edge of the road and plummet down the mountainside.
What the fuck, man?
There's also a large lighted vanity tucked away just in case you need to use another bed. The bed is 6 feet 10 inches, meaning that you'll have plenty of room to stretch out without cramping at the end of the bed. To get a side adventure out of your hideaway, you'll be able to access the amazing bathtub. There's also a first-class quality bathroom with bath products that put the bathroom to normal clean Singapore Airlines. Fans of our videos concerning air travel know that the flight attendants on board Singapore Airlines go through some of the most expensive training there is. So it's no surprise that Singapore Airlines offers luxury accommodations in addition to its executive training. Upon boarding the plane, you'll be greeted by me, Dom Perignon champagne, and offered a
Oh my god, man.
You'll be shown to your cabin that was designed by French luxury yacht designer Jean-Jacques Cousteau and is dressing cream and brown and accented with leather. The seats are upholstered in gold trim Cousteau and are stitched with a distinctive diamond pattern. And 35 inches wide, there's plenty of room for even the most comfortable traveler. A separate bed with a pillow to sleep on so you won't have to try to snooze in your sleep. Instead of pre-packed is found here. Inside, the water villa is open, bright, and filled with modern features, making you think you're actually in a traditional high-end apartment. In fact, while on the outside it looks like a single-level dwelling, this thing has a whole other level below the water line. The best part? When you tire of your surroundings, you just weigh anchor and find a new place to dock. Fold-out home. All we can say is that if you are into Transformers and the environment, then this transportable home is definitely for you. In terms of what this house is, we'd say it is along the lines of a really high-end tackle or toolbox. You know, the kind that has all the sorts of levels and extra storage that folds out once you open it up. Designed by Mehdi Hidari Badi, this fold-out home definitely stands out from other mobile dwellings. First off, in its traveling form, it looks like a regular brown trailer. However, once you've found your location to live, the size...
See my creativity? See my creativity? See my creativity.
Sides fold down, extensions come out, walls go up, and the roof gets situated. Once the general structure is all formed, the multiple solar panels on the roof get adjusted to provide you with off-the-grid power. Along with the solar panels, the lightweight aluminum and recycled materials used in this fold-out home's construction make it a pretty green option for those looking for a little freedom without damaging the environment. Speaking of green, there is still no word on a final price for this futuristic mobile home, as it isn't in production yet. Volkner Bus. What if you like the idea of the Element Palazzo, but the design is just a bit too radical for your tastes? Not a problem. You should check out this mobile home from Volkner Mobile. Known officially as the Performance Bus, you should trust us when we say this is no ordinary bus. Costing as much as $1.5 million, owners quickly learn this is also no ordinary RV or mobile home. Inside, you'll find a very large kitchen, bathroom, and living room, all fully equipped with appliances and furniture you wouldn't expect. Of course, it also comes with a high-end Bose Dolby audio system and customizable lighting for all those swanky RV parties you want to throw. It may not have the lavish bar that pops out of the roof like the Element, but the Volkner does have one awesome hidden feature. With the push of a button, you can store a car in a purpose-built area under the bus. In fact, it was designed to hold a car the same size as a typical Ferrari or Lamborghini. Unfortunately, the exotic car is sold separately and not included in the price. Time for our mobile quiz. Do you know how many Americans live in mobile homes? Think about that a bit while we show you some more incredible portable homes people actually live in. The Heat Mobile Estate. What weighs in at around 70 tons, is over 50 feet in length, requires a transport truck to tow, and costs in the neighborhood of $2 million. Okay, we imagine there are all sorts of guesses being made, but let us tell you. It's the massive but equally impressive mobile home simply called The Heat. This thing is so high-end that Hollywood A-listers from Will Smith to Ashton Kutcher have owned one. Sure, it may not look ridiculously space-age like the Element, but if you rolled into town in one of these blacked-out and intimidating things, we bet the locals would think you worked for the NSA. When deployed, the Heat gives its owners 2 floors and 1,200 feet of luxurious space. In fact, there's more than enough room for a kitchen, several bathrooms, and guest rooms, as well as a conference room. Loaded with leather, oak, and marble, the Heat even comes with full 360-degree security coverage, all linked to several monitors so you know what's going on outside at all times. Just keep in mind that since each home is custom built, $2 million is an estimate, and we're just waiting to see how high that price can be pushed by the next celebrity to buy one. The Floating Seahorse. Do you have a spare $2.8 million just sitting around? Looking for an impressive home on the water that you could move around should the need ever arise? If you answered yes to both of those questions, then try checking out the floating home known as the Floating Seahorse. Right now, you can find several dozen of these homes in Dubai. Well, actually, they're floating off the coast of Dubai. Utilizing a lot of wood and glass in their design, these homes are actually pretty spacious and provide for 2 floors above the surface. The real treat is when you go downstairs to the basement level, where you'll find the master bedroom. In addition to all the customizable flooring and trim, the standout feature is the view of the sea all around your bed thanks to large windows. Save up your pennies and buy the larger $12 million version of the floating seahorse, and you'll get even more space. This includes 2 bedrooms and a living room below the surface, where you can play out all of your wildest Little Mermaid fantasies. Dolkyam. When you think of expensive and luxury, loaded mobile homes and houseboats, you likely think of futuristic designs with lots of curves and outlandish features. This artist's rendition of one sea-based structure is a perfect example of that. Proving that an amazing transportable home doesn't have to look like something out of Star Trek, we have for you the houseboat known only as Dolkyam. In fact, at first glance, as you approach this dwelling, it looks a lot like a normal house. Get a bit closer, and you see that it is pretty much a regular house, just floating on a platform. The owners of this floating castle prove that you don't need to skimp on space to live in a movable home. With its rich wood interior, more commonly found in a mountain lodge, they also proved you don't need that minimalist look so commonly found in other homes of this type. When we say this thing has a full-size dining room, kitchen, and living space, we mean full-sized. After all, with 3 levels, this place definitely has more than enough room for its 2 occupants. We also imagine that morning commute to work by kayak is pretty nice as well. Malibu Mobile. Considering the types of mobile and transportable homes we've covered so far, you wouldn't expect us to find anything worthwhile in an actual mobile home park. Well, in the Paradise Cove Mobile Home Park in Malibu, there's one home that's definitely worth mentioning. Sitting atop a bluff overlooking the Pacific is this $4 million house. The incredibly bright open concept design and views of the ocean instantly give away the fact that this is one pricey home. Inside, there is all of the space and features you'd expect in such a place. There's even a very rich-looking office for when you need to get some work done. Perhaps the best spot is the master bedroom with large windows letting you see the ocean every morning you get out of bed. We know what you're thinking. No, this doesn't look like a mobile home. At all. In fact, it doesn't even look like you could move it. That said, there is a manufactured home which was moved here and assembled. Also, given it's in a trailer park, whenever it's listed, it's labeled as a mobile home. Sure, it's a technicality and a bit of a loophole, but we'll let it slide in this instance. Container homes. Like the micro home craze that's sweeping the world, there's another growing trend in unconventional home design. This one involves the use of shipping containers. Yes, those multicolored metal rectangles you see stacked on ships and railway cars are actually used for building homes. Whether looking to build an off-the-grid retreat or a strange-looking mega home, more and more homeowners are using the metal containers as a kind of adult-sized Lego. You can simply build a single container home or stack multiple units together, creating strange and interesting designs. Now, before you get carried away and start planning your own cargo container home, just be forewarned. Sure, it looks cool and it's a great way to recycle, but there are pitfalls. For instance, because they are metal, many homeowners forget that insulation is a must to help control temperature and condensation. Also, you really need to plan out the design of your home because it will require a lot of cutting for plumbing, doors, windows, and wires. In fact, some shipping container homeowners have said that it can cost just as much or more to get these homes up to code and the same level of comfort as a regular house. So, buyers beware. So, any idea how many Americans live in mobile homes? The answer? Around 20 million. That's around the same number of people as the entire population of Beijing, China. That's all the amazing transportable homes we have for you today. If you're still on a bit of a real estate kick, then the realtors at The Richest have your back. From listings for zombie-proof homes to high-priced palaces, we've got property for all tastes. Just be sure to register with our agents by hitting that subscribe button, and we'll be sure to set you up with an appointment. Bye-bye for now. See you next time.
Now, on the next page, you'll see a breakdown of costs. What?
It's just we were.
We were gonna ask about it, but we weren't sure when, so thanks.
Being upfront is how Edward Jones makes sense of investing.
The digital revolution would have looked a lot different without the contributions of Bill Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft and the richest man in the world, with a net worth of nearly $90 billion. His business sense can be described as extremely shrewd or flat-out ruthless, depending on whom you ask, and his leadership propelled Microsoft to the forefront of the personal computer industry in the early to mid-90s, a position it retains to this day. You'd expect Gates' primary residence to be among the most palatial estates in the world, and you would not be disappointed. Named Xanadu 2.0 after the home of Citizen Kane's Charles Foster Kane, the $123 million mansion sits on an enormous parcel of land in Medina, Washington. Its mind-boggling 66,000 square feet contains such features as a 20-seat home theater, ballroom with 200 guest capacity, a trampoline room with a 20-foot ceiling, and no fewer than 24 bathrooms. There's also enough garage space for 23 cars, a 2,100 square foot library, and a pool with its own underwater music system. Since this is Bill Gates' pad, there's also an array of ultra-high-tech features, including automatic climate and lighting control, rotational artwork that can be changed at the touch of a button, and heated floors and driveways. To top it all off, the 1,900 square foot guest house is just as high-tech, having served as a testing ground for all of the main house's technology. Xanadu 2.0 is so opulent that one lucky Microsoft employee once won a private tour for a high bid of $35,000. With a net worth of over $70 billion, Warren Buffett is currently the fourth richest man in the world and second only to Gates in the U.S. He's considered to be one of the most skilled and successful investors in the entire world, having earned nicknames like the Sage and the Oracle in acquiring all of his wildly diversified business holdings. He's also known for being notoriously frugal for such an incredibly rich man. He still lives in the modest Omaha, Nebraska home he purchased for just over $30,000 in 1958. But of course, that's not his only property. Buffett recently listed a Laguna Beach, California home, purchased for $150,000 in 1971 on the market, and this one has undergone a few upgrades. The home sits on a corner lot with a bay view and features nearly 3,600 square feet of space. 2 of its 6 bedrooms have private entrances, and many also feature balconies with spectacular ocean views. Although some features such as skylights and additional bathrooms were included in the renovations, there are still some telltale signs of Buffett's frugal nature, like the laminate countertops in the kitchen and an abundance of carpeted floors. But based on location and pedigree alone, it's safe to say that this beach house has slightly increased in value over the decades. Buffett's asking price is a cool $11 million. Jeff Bezos got his start on Wall Street before founding Amazon.com in 1994 at the dawn of the World Wide Web. It's gone on to become the world's largest online retailer, and he's also made a series of wise moves such as investing in Google and diversifying into media with the purchase of a number of major newspapers, including the Washington Post. He's usually cited right behind Bill Gates as the second richest man in the world, although due to a surge in Amazon shares, he briefly overtook Gates as the world's richest man for part of one day in July 2017. Although Bezos initially indicated he had no plans to relocate after buying the Post, it didn't take him long to set his sights on the largest private residence in Washington, D.C., which he recently bought for $23 million. Actually, 2 properties which Bezos plans to merge into one single-family home. The 27,000 square foot site housed a textile museum for over 90 years. The 10-bedroom, 14-bath property still looks like a museum, boasting classical architecture and original building materials. And Bezos will be neighbors with President Obama as he enjoys his post-political life. Renovation plans are currently under review by the local housing commission. But in the meantime, Bezos has plenty of other properties to focus on, since he's recently joined the top 25 list of America's largest landowners. His properties include a 165,000-acre Texas ranch, which also houses his aerospace company, Blue Origin, a $24.5 million, 12,000 square foot Beverly Hills estate with
Insurance, you're ready for the I was just on my way to the library discount. The TD Insurance Savings Commitment. Over 30 ways to save. Feel confident you're saving every dollar possible. Call us today. TD Insurance. TD. Ready for you.
With its own tennis court and greenhouse, and a 10,000 square foot suite in Manhattan's Century Tower, where he makes his primary residence. Spanish tycoon Amancio Ortega is the founder of luxury clothing brand Zara, and another frequent challenger to Gates for the title of world's richest man with a net worth of around $70 billion. After the first Zara store opened in 1975, Ortega quietly built enough of a fortune to diversify into the high-end real estate market, which he has done with gusto. He uses all-cash offers to outbid some of the most experienced professional property investors for high-profile properties, and by some accounts, he's amassed a real estate portfolio worth in excess of $10 billion. Ortega is another billionaire who prefers to live the frugal life, driving an Audi A8 and keeping only 2 modest residences. He also places a high premium on privacy, so not much is known about the interiors of his home. One even has a mysterious location. It's thought to be a nondescript apartment somewhere in Girona, Spain, where he spends most of his time with his family. One other slightly more majestic property sits on the oceanfront at Zalaeta, at Osran Beach in India. It looks like an absolutely spectacular property, but so far as anybody knows, the public has never been allowed inside by the famously reclusive Ortega. He may not be interested in acquiring any more properties for personal use, but business is another story. Over the last 10 years, Ortega has spent at least $6 billion on real estate holdings in major cities all over the world. Mark Zuckerberg is the poster child for the concept of that one great idea. His was Facebook, the most dominant social network on the planet. And as its founder, he's seen his net worth soar north of $70 billion in recent years. Unlike some others, Zuckerberg seems to be keen to acquire as many swanky properties as possible, while being as much of a nuisance to his neighbors as he can. He bought his primary house in 2011. It's a $7 million, 5,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 5-bath house in Palo Alto, which features plenty of glass, hardwood, and wide open spaces. But Zuckerberg recently decided he needed a little more. He bought up the 4 houses surrounding his property, with plans to merge all 5 properties into one large compound, where he can privately entertain family and guests, a plan which is giving headaches to local housing authorities. Meanwhile, his $10 million home in San Francisco goes unused for large portions of the year, except by Zuckerberg's security team, who stays on year-round and takes up 2 street parking spaces in an area with a notorious lack of parking. This hasn't made many fans of his neighbors, but he can always retreat to his 700-acre ranch in Hawaii if the neighbors there weren't up in arms about his decision to build a 6-foot wall around the property. For someone who so obviously values privacy, Zuckerberg sure seems to make a lot of waves in whatever neighborhood he lands. Mexican businessman and investor Carlos Slim Helú has also spent a bit of time atop the world's richest list. He earned the rank for 4 years between 2010 and 2013. His $68 billion fortune was earned through vast holdings in media, entertainment, hospitality, sports, practically every sector of Mexican society. And this, of course, includes real estate. Slim's mansion in Lomas de Chapultepec, Mexico, has been his main residence for over 40 years. The 6-bedroom, 8-bath residence features a gourmet kitchen and California colonial architecture, and it sits high above the neighboring street, offering incredible views. But his most prestigious housing purchase must be the Duke Simons Mansion, directly across the street from the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art on 5th Avenue in New York City. The 20,000 square foot property features 12 bedrooms and 14 baths, along with 11 wood-burning fireplaces throughout. Early 20th century handcrafted workmanship can be found on every floor, from the hand-carved wall paneling to ornate iron staircases, with balcony views overlooking the hottest spot in the hottest city in the world. All of this for the reasonable sum of $44 million, Slim's purchase price. Larry Ellison is the founder of the Oracle Corporation, a tech company which focuses on enterprise software and database applications for businesses. They've competed very successfully with giants like Microsoft and Sybase, and throughout his tenure at the company, Ellison has amassed a personal fortune in the neighborhood of $55 billion. He's done this through a combination of wise investments and through his forays into the real estate market, which have seen him put together a truly stunning portfolio. He's been called the United States' most avid trophy home buyer, with plans to convert many of his purchases into art museums, each showcasing a different period or style. He owns literally dozens of ultra-expensive homes in California and Japan, including an even 24 in the pricey Malibu area, 10 of which reside on Carbon Beach, a haven for billionaires. But it was his purchase of 98% of the entire Hawaiian island of Lanai that really raised eyebrows in 2012. Along with his purchase came 2 fully staffed Four Seasons resorts, which of course are now being fully renovated. He's also planning to use the island as a sort of testing ground for environmentally safe practices, which is right in line with his recent investments in clean energy. Truly, wherever Larry Ellison lays his head is home, and with a bottomless wallet and a dizzying array of property holdings, he has plenty of very expensive places to lay his head. The Koch brothers, Charles and David, have become notorious in recent years for their involvement in American politics, pouring billions in private funds into super PACs supporting their favorite candidates. Whether or not you agree with their methods, their family story is an impressive one, beginning with their father Fred's invention of a new process of refining crude oil in the early 20th century. Koch Industries went on to become an energy powerhouse, and most people are unaware that Charles and David are not the only Koch brothers. Bill Koch is a lesser-known member of the family, who is no longer affiliated with Koch Industries and is only worth a relatively paltry $1.25 billion. But nearly a tenth of this worth is tied up in his home, an 82-acre estate in Aspen, Colorado. The property features 7 cabins and 4 single-family homes with a combined 28 bedrooms and 27 baths. There are also 2 private fishing ponds and a climate-controlled hyperbaric 20-seat movie theater that is specially designed to comfort those who aren't used to being at altitude. The impressive property is on the market for $80 million, funds that Koch needs for his latest project.
It's the playoffs. You're not shaving your lucky beard.
Come on, Jerry. Grr, to great. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, official partner of the NHL.
Project, a complete replica of a Wild West town, which he's building in another area of Colorado. The former mayor of New York City, Michael Bloomberg, grew his fortune as the CEO of the company that bears his name, a media, software, and global financial services juggernaut which spans the globe. His fortune, estimated to be north of $50 billion, is enough to regularly place him among the top 10 richest people on Earth. And if his real estate portfolio is any indication, he's not likely to stop amassing wealth anytime soon. Bloomberg owns over a dozen pricey top-end properties around the world, including a $20 million estate in the Hamptons and a 6,200 square foot historic mansion in London's Chelsea neighborhood. But his real passion project has to be his properties on East 79th Street in New York. He's owned an elegant 5-story limestone townhouse on the street for over 30 years. And during that time, he's spent millions purchasing additional units in the co-op next door, with the apparent intention of one day merging both buildings into a double-wide mansion in the middle of the city. His most recent of these purchases sent him back $14 million, and there is only 1 unit remaining for him to complete his masterpiece, a top-floor unit which, unfortunately for him, has been occupied for decades by a couple who have gone on record saying they are unlikely to ever want to sell. With his persistence and incredibly deep pockets, however, Mayor Bloomberg just might bring them around. Ira Rennert is known as the king of the junk bonds, having made his fortune in securities, primarily selling high-risk, high-yield bonds. He may not have the largest personal fortune on this list. He's only thought to be worth about $6.5 billion, but his mansion at Sagaponack in the Hamptons has to be seen to be believed. Rennert bought the property in 2015 for an unbelievable $248 million, sitting on 63 acres. The compound's specifications must be estimated due to its sheer size. Most estimates put its square footage at about 62,000, with some going as high as 100,000 or more. It has anywhere from 21 to 29 bedrooms, between 18 and 39 baths, and a 100-car garage. Amenities include a 10,000 square foot sports facility with a basketball court and 2 bowling lanes, a 164-seat movie theater, and 3 swimming pools. The hot tub alone set Rennert back $150,000. But if you're going to buy the single largest private residence in the entire United States, you must spare no expense.
Maybe we should...
Oh, there's no need. Red oak. See? It's not so difficult, is it?
I'd go for the white oak if I were you. And with the Mercier Generations finish, your floors will last even longer. That wasn't so difficult, was it?
Now, we're not
not suggesting you start a career of breaking and entering, but we bet you've thought about the security behind some very impressive houses once in a while. Don't worry, you're not alone. Staring up at those impressive wrought iron fences is enough to make us wonder just what other precautions are being used to stop us peasants from crossing the gates. But we're here to let you know. We put together a list of 10 of the most secure homes in the world to show you exactly what lengths the world's elite have gone to. If you do manage to get inside any of these houses, there's a chance you'll get stuck. Many of these houses have impressive security functions that can trap you forever. So to ensure you've got something to do while you're stuck, make sure to click subscribe before we begin so you've got something to watch inside the most luxurious properties. Ryungsung Residence. You wouldn't necessarily think you'd require a lot of security when you're in charge of one of the most feared countries in the world, but Ryungsung Residence in North Korea is pretty darn secure. It's the main residence for the royal family and sits in the northern region of the country. Not only does it have luxurious interiors, but it's also one of the most secure locations in the world. Obviously, being such a secretive country must come with matching security precautions, and so it's not too much of a surprise to hear of the lengths Kim Jong-un has gone to in order to keep himself safe at home. Along with your standard security, Ryungsung Residence is surrounded by an electric fence, armed guards, and minefields. The walls are protected with iron rods and lead-covered concrete in order to protect it from even nuclear assaults. If disaster were to strike and the family had to get to safety quickly, an underground tunnel connects the house to the other royal residence, Shanggyung House, or Residence Number 26 as it's also known. However, it's unlikely that anyone would try and break in because if someone were to pass through all of the security checkpoints, they'd find themselves facing a variety of dangerous substances anyway. Fairfield Estate. The Hamptons are where the richest of the rich hang out over summer, and with all that cash lying around, it's no wonder that they have the security measures in place to protect it. The Fairfield Estate is one of the most secure in the whole area. It's owned by the billionaire Ira Renard, who made some of his massive fortune collecting art. Some of his favorite works are dotted around the estate at a total value of more than $500 million. The estate itself is worth an estimated $200 million, making it arguably the most expensive house in the United States. So it's only right that the billionaire only wanted the best of the best security to protect his fortune. The estate is fronted with an incredibly high-tech security gate, meaning that only those invited are even capable of setting foot on the grounds, let alone the actual buildings. It has bulletproof windows and enough security cameras to make you think twice about stepping foot on the property without an explicit invitation. Ira considered security a huge priority when it came to purchasing his new home, and we wish we knew just how much it's costing him to make sure none of his reported 21 bedrooms get broken into. The Zombie Bunker. Admittedly, it's not a problem we've come across yet, but have you considered how your home would fare if zombies were to attack? Welcome to the Zombie Bunker, the world's first zombie-proof house. Just in case, zombies do eventually decide to take over the world. Even the windows are backed up with a thick layer of concrete, although somehow the entire house still has movable walls. You might wonder what the need for this was, but with a drawbridge entry system into the house, it's clear the architects wanted to risk nothing when it came to keeping us safe. In fact, this drawbridge is the only way to enter and exit the house, which means that if you need to leave in a rush, you might have to prepare in advance. Who knows what these zombies are capable of? The house is backed up with a thick sheet of iron, too, so there's definitely no chance of sneaking in or knocking the walls down without somebody noticing. The Zombie Bunker isn't the most aesthetic building we've ever seen, but there's no doubt about its safety precautions. We're not expecting to be overrun with zombies anytime soon, but if it does happen, we know where we'll be turning to. Bill Gates. His security team is thought to be pretty friendly, but we still wouldn't take the risk of breaking into Bill Gates' house anytime soon. With one of the most expensive properties in the world and a background in technology, it's only expected that he would have the high-tech measures to match. Aside from frequent cameras, Bill had a smart idea when it came to protecting his home without running up his electricity bill too much. He grew plants and trees all the way around the entire property. Not only does this stop snap-happy photographers from getting too close, but it also works to alert Bill if anyone is trying to jump the fence. The house is reported to have one of the most state-of-the-art security systems in the world. With no expense spared, the multiple cameras and security precautions means Bill likely lives in one of the safest places ever. When he has guests over, they're required to wear a special pin that lets...
The durability of these GE appliances ensures they can literally handle whatever your family throws at them. Guys, bring in the tools. You gotta find the weak spot. Come on, is that all you got? Consider this officially homes approved.
Lets them control the heating and surrounding electrical equipment. This means that anybody who turns up unwelcome will be spotted a mile away. Because of his background, it's only natural that Bill would control his security with specialist technology. But we're pretty impressed all the same. The White House. Did you know that Barack Obama was the most heavily guarded president on Earth? The White House therefore has almost every safety feature you could think of. For a start, an iron fence surrounds the property. This This might seem fairly standard, but the fence is far out enough to minimize the impact of dangerous cars. Dotted around inside and outside the fence are members of the Secret Service who dedicate their lives to making sure the White House is only open to the kind of visitors they want on site. The President's house also has a pretty specialized feature of food scanners, which is actually off-site. This means that if anything is planted inside dinner tonight, it can be safely detonated out of harm's way. Unlike the majority of the rest of the USA, and the world actually, the White House even controls the air. Restricted airspace means helicopters can't come too close, and in the last few years, the area has been expanded for extra precaution. But just in case you've managed to get this close without being stopped and thoroughly searched, the house also has bulletproof windows, radars on the rooftops to detect unwanted movement, and infrared sensors that can detect local movement by heat. The Corby family. Based in the Hollywood Hills of California, the Corby family are known for their excessive and expensive security precautions. The millionaire family and their luxury residence are pretty well protected with everything from biometric recognition software to earthquake prevention techniques. It's pretty common to build earthquake-proof houses around the United States, but the Corby family's house is built with concrete structures which were buried about 30 feet underground. Along with natural disasters, the house is also prepared in the event of man-made disasters like nuclear or chemical issues. An underground bunker was built and holds enough food and drink to keep a family alive for 3 to 6 months. Now that puts your freezer stocks to shame. In an effort to be one of the most technologically secure houses in the world, the Corby family even have a telephone system that can be used everywhere inside, meaning that if an intruder entered, they could communicate without ever having to divulge whereabouts in the property they were hiding. Most likely, they would be hiding in the well-stocked panic room, which has a variety of CCTV cameras and can connect to the local police at the touch of a few buttons. But the most impressive feature? The Corby household has the means to release fog into the property to scare off burglars, which sounds great until somebody accidentally pulls it and scares everyone. Buckingham Palace. It's a hugely popular tourist trap, and so it's a known fact that Buckingham Palace in London, England, has a lot of security measures if you're looking to visit. If you've seen the famous changing of the guards, you'll know that a few roads surrounding the palace are closed off each time. But recently, armed police have extended the no-go area and have stepped up their presence to ensure the changing goes along smoothly. Buckingham Palace is known for its security measures, but for very good reason. Famously, a few people have tried to scale the building in order to break in, and one guy, called Michael Fagan, actually got in and had a quick look around once. Luckily, it hasn't happened again since. The guards carry out a ring-around system to make sure that nobody sleeps through their shifts. Obviously, if you're working late at night and there's not much going on, it can be easy to let your eyelids droop, but the system works to stop this. For example, Guard A would ring Guard B, who would ring Guard C, and so on, until the entire property had been covered and everybody was keeping an eye out for intruders. The Kardashians. After the incident in Paris last year, it's no revelation to hear that Kim Kardashian has stepped up security everywhere she goes. From firing her bodyguard of 4 years, Pascal Duvier, to increasing the security in her own house, she's not about to be taking any more risks. The security team manning the property were all subject to intense background checks, and only the very best of the best were hired. But for those who wish to enter the house, more than a quick chat is needed. Visitors have to be patted down by a member of the security team to ensure that only pre-approved visitors can come in. Surrounding the house is also a variety of cars. Since the incident last year, Kim Kardashian is cautious of people following her. Instead of driving one car, mixes up each journey so that no one is able to follow her footsteps. Multiple security cameras and motion sensors surround the property, and rumor has it there's a safe room just in case anything goes wrong. The state-of-the-art security system has impressive alarms for every eventuality, and is thought that the property is almost as secure as Fort Knox, although that might just be a threat to keep everyone out. Maximum Security Mansion. It's not the most pretentious name for a house we've come across, but the Maximum Security Mansion in Evergreen, Colorado is definitely one of the most heavily protected. As the name would suggest, the 32-acre property has a $6 million security system that puts almost all other houses to shame. One very impressive feature about this house is that you can check up on it from anywhere in the world. The cameras surrounding it show both the interior and the exterior of the property and can be viewed by anybody with an Apple phone. Assuming they've got the login details and the acceptance from the security team first, we're guessing. Be careful, if you're considering breaking and entering this house, there's definitely something you should know. The property has impressive thermal imaging, so any handprints can be checked and identified up to 20 minutes after they've been made. And, on the slim chance you're considering flooding the place in order to hide your identity, don't assume you'll be in the clear. Along with super sensors to detect almost anything, the home is able to tell if there's been a water leak, including anything from the bathroom to accidental or intentional floods. Kronstadt Fort Alexander I. The whole point of Kronstadt Fort Alexander I was to keep people away from St. Petersburg in Russia, which is one of the reasons as to why you will probably never be able to get close to the property. There are over 40 forts in the area, and Kronstadt Fort Alexander I is one of the most secure. The area has been subject to attacks in the past, but eventually everyone seems to have given up. Kronstadt Fort Alexander I is just a little bit too secure for anybody to bother making enough effort. The military installation has 12-meter-long piles that dig deep into the ocean to reinforce the top of the property. It's so secure, in fact, that there are 5,535 of these piles. It's not likely to be knocked over, is basically what we're saying. On top of these piles are many layers which act as further reinforcement. The first layer is sand, followed by concrete and topped with granite. Even if you could dig through the sand layer, you probably wouldn't get much further. The fort definitely served its purpose during the olden times, and although now it's technically abandoned, it's not somewhere you could visit for a day trip whilst in the area, even if you really tried your best. After watching this video, you're definitely going to know exactly what to look out for next time you're touring a huge property. We hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you click subscribe to the Hub before you go. Thanks!
There's something extra nice about being just a bit out of reach when I head out with the girls for a weekend of pampering in Buffalo, Niagara. The spas seem more soothing, the chocolate a little more satisfying, the Broadway shows that much more exciting, and the wine tastings just a little more inviting. Oh, and the shopping? The deals are always amazing. Buffalo, Niagara, the nearest faraway place.
Have you ever wanted to own $1 million home? How about a home that's worth a whopping $250 million? Yes, we said billion. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we take a look at the 10 most insane houses in the world. Incredible Modern House Villa, Beverly Hills. This 5-bedroom, 10-bathroom modern architectural wonder is built right off the Sunset Strip in Beverly Hills, California. This home is filled with glass everywhere, inside and out. It has a zero-edge pool and a cozy cabana. For you wine lovers, the dining room is connected to a 21-foot motorized wine rack that brings treasured vintage wines right to your table at the push of a button. No need to get up or bother the butler. It also has an upscale lounge with a movie theater, a full bar right next to the pool overhead, and a gym and sauna. This place has it all, and for a cool $22.9 million, it can be yours. Luxury house in Limassol, Cyprus. This house was designed with 5 different levels, each with its own facilities, and has everything you can possibly imagine, including indoor swimming pool, hydro massage, aquarium, full wet bars, solarium, steam room, finished sauna room, snow cabin, mud bathroom, massage beauty room, and gym. It also has a home cinema. There's a swimming pool and a hot tub outside with a bar and a triple garage for all your toys. What's the price for all this? This house is currently on the market, and if you have $50 million, then all of this can be yours. Bockley Construction's elegant contemporary luxury home. This custom-built home has a hydraulic garage car lift, a movie theater, custom gymnasium, custom pool, and a custom wine cellar. It also includes a gym, media room, wet bar, a separate glass-encased wine room apart from the wine cellar, and a spa with a sauna and steam shower. The Gunite Pool and hot tub by Todd Pools are accented by both fire and water features. This place is also available for sale, and if you have $7 million, you can own it.
Congratulations! With TD Insurance, you're ready for the I was just on my way to the library discount. The TD Insurance Savings Commitment. Over 30 ways to save. Feel confident you're saving every dollar possible. Call us today. TD Insurance. TD. Ready for you.
Luxury Estate Home, Greenwood Road, West Vancouver. This modern contemporary home is an 8-bedroom, 8-bath residence with large entertainment-size formal living and dining rooms, with a built-in temperature-controlled glass wine room. The luxurious master suite has a private terrace, fireplace, walk-in wardrobe, and a marble bathroom. On the lower level, a poolside billiard room with onyx wet bar, exercise gym, and private casino room, a home theater, and resort-style spa. Outside, you have a heated swimming pool, sunken entertainment area with fire pit, covered outdoor sitting lounge, and separate jacuzzi spa. Falling Water, house over waterfall designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. Falling Water is a house designed in 1935 by renowned American architect Frank Lloyd Wright and owned by wealthy department store owner Edgar J. Kaufman. It is now a landmark architectural treasure with the public visiting and touring, so it isn't for sale. The home is suspended atop a 30-foot waterfall. The 5,300 square foot home's walls and floors are constructed of sandstone. There's a glass hatchway in the main level's floor that opens to reveal a staircase leading down to the stream below. Even the furniture and decorations were designed by the architect. Mega House from Challen Road, Bel Air, California. This modern masterpiece has a 5,600 square feet master suite including a spa and 12 bedroom suites with 23 baths. There's no going thirsty with 5 fully stocked bars. Entertainment comes in the form of a 2-lane bowling alley, full theater, wine cellar, and game room. It also has a sports court pavilion, pool cabana, an infinity pool with waterfall and spa, putting green with 50-foot fire feature, motor court with enough room for 70 cars, and a 14-car custom garage. Throughout the home is a fully automated Creston Media sound system, Mitsubishi state-of-the-art HVAC, plus a commercial high-speed Otis elevator. This house is definitely a home for the rich and is priced at $100 million. Inside a $165 million Florida mansion, Manalapan. When it comes to mega mansions, this 33-bedroom Florida compound on a private barrier island is pretty hard to beat. The 16-acre estate is named Gemini and isn't just a mansion, it's an entire island. The property includes a 12-bedroom main home and a PGA standard golf practice area, and it means you never have to leave the private island to work on your drive. You'll also find a freshwater pond, bird sanctuary, and sports complex with tennis, basketball, and mini golf. The main house is 62,000 square feet. It boasts a museum-quality climate control system, top-notch security system, cell phone signal booster, and not 1 but 2 elevators. This is one of the most expensive properties in the USA at $165 million. $250 million modern villa, California, USA. This
cheap ways to secure your browsing from hackers. 1. Use NordVPN. 2. Get a tinfoil hat. 3. Live under a rock with no internet. You know what? Better stick to NordVPN. Here's why. For only $275 a month, you get military-grade encryption, access to online content with no restrictions, protection for up to 6 devices at the same time, all major platforms, 24/7 customer support. NordVPN keeps no logs of your internet activities, so you can enjoy ultimate privacy. And it's so easy to use. NordVPN, PC Magazine Editor's Choice in 2017. Protect yourself for only $275 a month. Limited time only.
This is one of the most expensive multi-million-dollar homes in the USA. It has 17 bedrooms and 21 bathrooms, a bowling alley, a movie theater, billiards room with foosball tables, giant candy dispensers with anything you want, and a wine cellar that would make any connoisseur blush. Got a helicopter? There's parking for it on the roof, not to mention the giant car garage under the structure. This is the King of Homes, Tony Stark style. This home was built with billionaires in mind, and for $250 million, you'd have to be one to afford it. Estate with pool and waterfall. Close to the beaches in San Diego, this multi-million-dollar home was designed by architect Rob Quigley. The home is basically built like a private resort with indoor waterfall. One of the main features of this place is its 25-foot high ceilings. It has 3 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms. There's a couple of pool tables inside, and a private patio is connected to the lower level with a plumbed gas fire pit. There's an outdoor spa in case you're not interested in going to the beach. The price of this place? $1,450,000. High-tech mansion. If you're looking for your dream home, this could be it. This home is loaded with crystal lights, glass, and chrome. All the bedrooms have their own full bathrooms and showers and walking room wardrobes. As with all multi-million-dollar homes, you will find billiard tables in a few rooms, a gym loaded with LED TVs, movie theater, and much more. If you like cars, underneath the home is a giant car garage. This home can be bought for $49,995,000.
Are you a science geek? Then you probably know what happens at the edge of universe, or what could happen if our sun vanished. Is it possible that people could live on the moon? Are we really alone in the universe? If you're curious about the answers to these questions, we're exploring them here.
Millions of houses exist in the world, yet only a small fraction of those are anything special. And whilst it's easy to simply throw money at a property, you'll be surprised to see that the most expensive places aren't always the most amazing and awe-inspiring. Amazing! From architects and visionaries at the top of their game, here are 20 of the coolest houses you just need to know about. Number 20. Glass House. This place was designed by So Fujimoto architects to let in a whole new level of natural light. Located on a populated street in Tokyo, Japan, the only thing this house is missing is some privacy. The 914 square foot home was built like a treehouse, with layers of living spaces built in throughout. It truly contrasts the typical concrete block walls seen in most of Japan's dense residential areas. Number 19. The Heliodome. This bioclimatic solar house is seen in Coswiller in the Alsatian countryside of eastern France. The house is designed as a giant three-dimensional sundial, set on a fixed angle in relation to the sun's movement to provide shade during the summer months, keeping the inside temperature cool, and during fall, winter and spring, sunlight enters the large windows as the sun's position is lower in the sky, thus warming the living space. Number 18. Giant Seashell House. Designed by architect Javier Senosiain of Arquitectura Organica and built in 2006, this house in Mexico City was inspired by the work of Gaudi and Frank Lloyd Wright. Looking like some sort of seashell, it's a real house built for a young family with 2 children who were tired of living in a conventional home and wanted to change to one integrated to nature. Number 17. Caterpillar House. The use of shipping containers in residential builds is quite popular nowadays, and this one has to be one of the coolest. Created by architect Sebastian Irarrázaval, this structure is located on a hillside just outside of Chile's capital city, Santiago, and boasts views of the Andes Mountains. The property measures 350 square meters and comprises a total of 12 used shipping containers. Number 16. House on the Rock. This unusual build is perched atop a rock sitting squarely in the middle of the Drina River in Serbia. It was originally created in 1968 by a group of young men who sought a convenient area to lounge in when visiting the river, and has, unsurprisingly, remained a constant attraction to locals and tourists. It has been pounded by the nature since it was built, but has survived, which is a possible testament to the quality of materials used to build it. Number 15. Stone House. Most people think living under a rock is something to avoid, but for one Portuguese family, it's a dream come true. Looking like a big boulder, you'd be surprised to know that this place actually has a door, a chimney, and a window, and has become a huge tourist attraction. Number 14. The Glass Pavilion. Dubbed the most minimalist house ever designed, this house is built in California, precisely in Montecito. The architect behind this project is Los Angeles starchitect Steve Herman, who initially designed this house for himself. After having second thoughts, he sold the place for an estimated $24 million. Number 13. Modern Razor Residence. Another luxurious pad from California. This 4-bedroom, 6-bathroom contemporary building has 10,000 square foot of space and was sold in May of 2008 for a mere $39 million. Designed by San Diego-based architect Wallace E. Cunningham, it is made of glass, steel, and white polished concrete. Number 12. The Hobbit House. Built with maximum regard for the environment, and with a cost of only around $5,000, this Hobbit house from Wales, which resembles the place from Lord of the Rings, took only 4 months to build. It's got to be one of the coziest homes ever built, and its construction is very well documented online. Number 11. The Roundabout House. This is probably just an evolved version of the former house. Like a robo-hobbit house, it is located in the Czech Republic and has been constructed by a 73-year-old builder since 1981. It's called the Roundabout House because it can rise and fall like a periscope. Now that's cool. It was built the way it was because the builder got bored from constructing normal homes, and being underground, it's at a stable temperature all year round. Number 10. The Jellyfish House. Bringing back some modernity, this 3-story abode is made almost completely of concrete and features an unbelievably awesome rooftop swimming pool with a see-through foundation. It is located in Marbella on the Mediterranean coast of Spain and is truly the type of place that is guaranteed to impress. Number 9. Keret House. This is the narrowest house in the world, but what it lacks in width, it makes up for in uniqueness. This 2-story art installation was named after Israeli writer and filmmaker Etgar Keret. The building measures a mere 3 foot at its narrowest point and 5 foot at its widest point, so it's not exactly built for the morbidly obese. Number 8. Antilla. This is the most expensive private residential house in the world, valued at upwards of $1 billion. It is owned by one of the richest people in the world, Mukesh Ambani, the owner of a petrochemical company. Every one of its 27 stories has been built to a different specification, and because of its enormity, just to maintain it, 600 staff are permanently present in the residence. It's certainly one of the coolest houses, but some shun it for looking like a huge office skyscraper instead of a house. Number 7. Skysphere Tiny House. This futuristic tower of steel and glass overlooks the rolling hills of New Zealand and was created by John O'Williams, a mild-mannered graphic designer by day and unabashed dreamer by night. What started as an ambitious design concept became real after he ordered 4 tons of steel from China. $75,000 and 3,000 hours later, the Skysphere was complete, instantly becoming one of the most imaginative and unusual tiny houses ever built. Number 6. Wallstrom House. This has got to be one of the most amazing wooden-styled houses in the world. Architect John Lautner designed this incredible home in the late 60s in the Santa Monica area, and it is still a timeless piece of architecture today. The simplicity of its open-plan interior is just as awesome as its exterior. Almost like a bird's nest, it has a balcony which is perched in the upper corner of the living room, making it feel as though you're wandering through the trees. Number 5. The Mirror Cube. Tree houses are cool, but this one, which is a unique form of hotel accommodation in Sweden, takes it to a whole new level by maintaining a cool, clean, Scandinavian design. The Mirror Cube is a 4-meter wide square hideout among the trees, camouflaged by mirrored walls that reflect the surroundings, making it almost look invisible from the outside. Number 4. The Pole House. Located in Fairhaven, Australia, and suspended 131 feet above the beach, is this dazzling house designed by F2 Architecture. It was actually built in the 70s and has since been amazingly restored. To enter the house, you'll have to walk along its dramatic glass walkway, which makes it seem like you're practically floating to your retreat. Number 3. Flintstone's House. The idea of this house came from architect Philip John Brown, who suggested to create a house that looked like a rock formation. Since the land is situated near to the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreational Area, unlike most multi-million-dollar pads, the interior of this place has irregularly shaped, rugged lines to mimic the texture of rocks. Aside from its impressive design, this home also offers a breathtaking view of the Pacific Ocean, Boney Mountains, and Los Angeles. Number 2. Casa Kimball. Completed in December 2008. This is a private beach house, getaway, and luxury rental villa located on the north coast of the Dominican Republic. Situated on 3 acres of pristine property, surrounded by almond trees and cocoa palms, it also lies on a cliff, meaning that each of its full 8 suites has an incredible panoramic view of the Atlantic Ocean. Number 1. Waterfall Home. What do you do when there's not enough space to build a full house on a piece of land? Build it on a waterfall, like this house in Pennsylvania, which was designed by the architect Frank Lloyd Wright, who is one of the most famous architects ever. This home is so amazing that it was on the cover of Time magazine in 1938 and is appropriately called Falling Water. It was finished after 3 years in 1939 and instantly became famous, standing as a National Historic Landmark today. In addition to its subtle exterior, which matches its surroundings, the interior is spacious and also decorated to match the aesthetics of nature. All houses considered, which one would you choose to live in? Thanks for watching, and subscribe to Be Amazed.
There's something extra nice about being just a bit out of reach when I head out with the girls for a weekend of pampering in Buffalo, Niagara. The spas seem more soothing, the chocolate a little more satisfying, the Broadway shows that much more exciting, and the wine tastings just a little more inviting. Oh, and the shopping? The deals are always amazing. Buffalo, Niagara, the nearest faraway place.
Building my own environments is something that has just kind of happened organically. I've always done it since I was a kid, building forts and whatever it is out of available materials. If it's 3 chairs and a blanket, we're tacking wood to trees and hanging out in the trees with your buddies, And so it's kind of something that's just always happened for me. But it's nice because I like the stuff around me.
So where do you sleep? Show me how you sleep. And who sleeps above you?
Mommy and Daddy.
The loft evolved from a kind of music, stretching, yoga space to a much-needed second bedroom.
I try to experiment as much as I can with my own things. The back window is a door. We left the handle in there. Even when I lived in a conventional house, I was always just making it my own. There's wheel wells here, and we had to hide them. I have lots of different designs that I'm kind of working on. I don't really know if I ever thought about it. I think that was just my reality. So this is something I'd only do for us. So it comes out that far so you can get to that, and then it comes a little bit further so you can get to those. And then it keeps coming. Okay, keep coming, keep coming.
Oh my God.
And then that's for the cowboy boots that only come out for Burning Man. So
there's still these little hidden pockets of like space to expand. Is there a name for that?
No, it was a concept or a prototype. I always experiment with my own stuff to see if it's something I could turn into something that's sellable. Because you can't just build that for somebody, and if it doesn't quite work right, you're always tweaking it, tinkering it to get it just right before it is something that you can offer. Being a craftsman has been a great, almost like insurance policy. When times get rough and you have limited options, you just convert yourself an RV, throw some tools in the back, and you hit the road and go for a low-budget travel adventure.
So about 6 years ago, Jeremy and I got a little burnt out on living the American dream. Great jobs, a really cool house, white teeth, six-pack abs. And we decided that instead of doing that while we had the chance, we were going to hit the road instead. So we didn't have an RV or a motorhome. We started looking for one and realized for the price, with Jeremy's skills and a little bit of creativity and some fabric, that we might as well get something and convert it ourselves. So this is kind of what started our whole adventure. So we came across this little school bus, and first we threw in a bed, and then we threw in some curtains, and then I kind of all snowballed from there.
When that adventure started to come to an end, and reality started to set back in that we were getting older and it was time to start a family. Well, we had to expand, so I built a larger school bus, Mira and I did, and that's been our full-time home. I've always had a workshop, and with living in a house that small, I didn't have one. I had a storage container to store my stuff into, so I converted that into a small shop and then built another shipping container into a larger shop. I can't say I try to customize. I think it just kind of organically happens. These shipping containers just kind of fell into my hands, and that was just the materials available. I guess the obvious thing is being able to design things to look and feel and just function the way you want them to.
What's the T?
Oh, that's me, Tinker.
So do you consider yourself a tinkerer?
Yeah, I do. And I think a tinkering, it used to be like, if you're a tinker, that was really good. But now it's become like you're not pro, or you're not really, a tinker used to be somebody that could do everything. They had a wide set of skills, and they were confident enough to work on different things if they kind of knew how to or not. And those skills kind of feed each other. So yeah, I tinker, and I tinker with all kinds of things. I always like to keep design really playful. There's so many square things. And things are square because they're easy to build. A lot easier to build, a lot less material waste, lower hours, less materials. It just makes sense to build in a square. A lot of times people can't afford to have that much curve and bent laminations, but well, it's only labor to me, and it's really what I like to work with.
Having this long rectangular box, we're also looking at ways to add character and add depth and curvature.
If you look in children's books and a lot of playful design, a lot of illustrations are that way, and it's fun.
When we started this, there weren't a whole lot of tiny houses, and it wasn't this kind of quaint thing. It wasn't this socially acceptable thing. So people were kind of curious, like, you're going to do what? Why are you going to do that? And so kind of wanted to have this element of surprise and unexpected beauty within it.
We'd built this. We hadn't ever heard of a tiny house at that time. We were inspired by a book called The Rolling Homes. And that was a book that was, I think, late 60s, early 70s. A lot of people were taking trucks and buses and turning them into homes. And so when I started doing it, I hadn't ever heard of a schoolie either. There's a huge community of schoolie enthusiasts which convert school buses into things. So this is actually licensed as an RV. So I had to have holding tanks. I had to have 12 and 120 volt. So freshwater tank, gray water tank for the DMV to... DMV? Or was it DOF? I think it was the DMV to... And that was a headache. And luckily there was schoolie forums. There was somebody that finally, in one of the forums, said, go to this specific office, talk to this specific person, and they know all the legalities. And they figured it out. So we got license plates and tabs. It looks like she would be really heavy, but if you look at the suspension, it's hardly loaded at all. Because so much metal came off of it, the wood was lighter. And she drives quite well, surprisingly.
So this is something that we already fell in love with one house once and wanted to change the location, and we didn't want to have that happen again. So we decided to build something that we could move when we find our dream piece of property for homesteading.
I saw a bunch of these, and they were in this auction. They have to surplus them because the government's at a different standards for emissions. There were so many of them that the prices was going really low. We went down and looked at it that night, came home and drew a picture to see if we could get a house to fit on it. It seemed like it would work because you have to be under 13 feet 6 inches to get it to be approved by the DOT. The original idea is we had a wood stove and we had this, and we were going to put the wood stove in it and then just drag it up the hill. And then it just kind of evolved. I took the bus and I cut it behind the driver's seat and I raised it up, and then I stripped all the metal off of it and installed more metal studs, welded metal studs into it, and then sheeted it with wood. So the bus was super, super affordable. I didn't even keep track of what it cost to build because we did it just over 2 years. Got all these materials. Sometimes I get materials for free, trade those, or something. We had materials, build it. When we ran out of money or materials, go back to work. So mostly what we bought was some plywood and, of course, the wiring. That's one thing I've noticed that people don't have enough respect for is electricity. So if you're going to spend money somewhere, that's the spot to spend it. The original, the ribs, the hat channel inside is how I got the roof. You can see the roof has a sag in it. You see that a lot in barns. The walls typically bow out because they don't have enough collar ties to keep it square. but on the ends you do. And so you'll usually see the sag in the middle, but we didn't bow the sides out because we would have been over the 102 inches wide. So you wouldn't legally be able to go down the road that wide. So we kept the walls straight, but I was able to get a little. When the bus came apart, it wanted to spread out a bit. It didn't matter how much tension I got back on it. I couldn't get it to come back. So I pulled it as far as I could, and there's actually a metal bar that comes through here to keep the bus from spreading out. There's also above the bathroom, that's another structural component to keep the bus from spreading out.
It's really fun to know that we can do things that are a little bit different, a little bit out of standard. Anytime I have an idea, what if we do this? What if the bedroom nook is like this Moroccan arch? He'll say, no, that's really complicated. I don't think we could do that because X, Y, Z. And I don't quite believe him. He'll get a little frustrated because he thinks I'm being persistent, and I'll get a little frustrated because I know he can do it. And I'll kind of come back after we both feel frustrated, and 3 days later he'll come, well, I was thinking about the loft and how I can make it work.
So I built the corner boxes first because they went all the way down. And then I built the platform. And then I installed these boxes that carry these drawers. That came in next. Then I put the face frame on it, which is what you see here.
And all of this was being constructed while I was about this size pregnant with Karis. At one point we were able to put a mattress in there, and I was doing design work, a very rough nest for me to hang out and participate.
Do you want to show her your toy boxes in there?
For my chalkboard.
Oh, there's your animals.
Yep.
This house was built off of 10 years of remnants of different jobs I was doing and such. The door Mira found, there might have been a bear or maybe a dog that tore the front up. So we had filled it and then painted it. The stove was planted. It was in a garden. And this is a really good Vermont castings stove. Fireplace. All the tiles were remnants from a project. The ceiling came off of my friend's wall. It came off kind of rough, but it made a decent ceiling.
He just wanted it pulled off and burned or thrown in the dumpster. So Drew's like, I will do that for you if I can, have that wood.
It's all clear Western red cedar. We did a rewire on this lamp here. Found that at a garage sale.
Another thing that he has spoiled me with is dimmers on all my light switches. So
somebody had a ton of drawer fronts with all the hardware on them on Craigslist. There were 20 of them. And so I put each one of them into AutoCAD, and we just kept shifting them around until they would fit our design. Built the boxes behind them, and there were spots where we didn't have the right cabinet, so I just would stand them proud and make it open to try to match. But we ended up with a ton of knobs, and you can see we used them all throughout the nook.
We were one shy for our entire floor plan, one knob shy. So to get around that, Jeremy built the fun drawer. So instead of having the floor, this drawer opens up, but then there's another kind of from that last knob that we didn't find and we couldn't find.
They're old, so I couldn't find the exact same one. The demolition company.
It was a big splurge, but seeing that there was only 200 square feet to cover, we could have.
Those are just nice. And it's so stable because the wood is up to 200 years old. It'd become wood. It wasn't timber anymore. So it's just expanded, contracted so long. It has such a cure on it that it's an extremely stable wood. We filled the whole bus with water once on accident, and the wood did not move. All the windows are reclaimed. My next door neighbor worked in a window shop, and this one didn't make the cut, and he didn't know why. So they were going to throw it out, so he took it home.
This window, it was actually a casement window. It was really hard to find windows to fit this space, and so we turned it and made it come open this way as a awning window.
That was a reclaimed window.
The only one that wasn't is the round window. Jeremy ordered the glass.
And then built the frame. And this is all fall off. The wall actually comes out. You have to pull these, but it splits, and then the whole thing is designed. There's screws in there. The whole wall comes out, so someday if we have a giant greenhouse or something, we can have another space to be able to go into, to be able to expand.
The kitchen is one thing that we decided we did not want to skimp on space at all. I've always been really into cooking and eating well, so we knew we didn't want to end up with a little RV sink or lack of space or storage. So, I don't know, like a third of the house is kitchen space, which works out really well for us. Jeremy is really, really great at building cabinetry. That's kind of a lot of what he does. So, I would rather have fewer things and be able to really display them. Kind of our philosophy is functional aesthetics. So, it's things that you do love and see and you want to appear instead of filling them with art. This is it's an apartment range. Jeremy converted it to run off of propane, so I can cook a full Thanksgiving dinner in this kitchen. This fridge is spectacular. The kitchen was essentially designed around it. It was a rusty old light yellow, rusted through. I painted it with a roller and a paintbrush with some enamel paint, and it's been holding up really well. It's like a 1951 Frigidaire. Back when refrigerators were smaller. Right. And I find I don't spend any less money on groceries having this tiny storage, but I find we waste a lot less food.
This is a hand-built ladder here. There's only fasteners up here, but I did it all in joinery. And that's just Western red cedar, and actually I cleaned out a property of an old cabinet maker and got that walnut for free, and that was a score.
Amazingly, we have as much clothes storage as we did in any of the houses that we had. So these are Karis's drawers that she gets to on her own. We made sure that she had the bottom two. They go quite deep. There's definitely a system to folding or rolling the clothes for these long, narrow drawers. Yeah, they come on out, so if I'm like loading.
We didn't put them on drawer slides, so we could take them out. And so it's an older style, old drawer runners with wax on them versus a modern drawer slide.
And they hold a lot more than those prefabricated boxes that we use in the other boxes. Top two are Jeremy's, bottom two are Karis's. We've got two left over for the baby. We have a rule that when something comes in, two things have to go out. It keeps us from getting totally overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that we have in this place. We opted out of doors for the bathroom, just the fact that if we open the door either way, we would lose so much space. So I literally, I make use of a lot of old scarves and curtains. And privacy is often an illusion, especially in a small space like this. So this is our closet space. It gets really hot up here with the sun coming in the summertime. So I kind of have a sheet that I hang up. But I try to leave it open as much as possible because it's the best view. We wanted to leave the driver's seat here, although Jim and I go back and forth. I would love to take it out. All we did really is hang up pretty much Jeremy's side of the closet here. And this is Karis and my side, so overflow things. Oh, because those are little steps. Yep, those are the steps down to the bus driver doors. Tiny bathroom. Tiny shower.
Because my hair is curly.
Have some non-conventional play spaces in our little house. That showers are both a really good spot for hide and seek, as well as Karis's art studio. Could I get these? Yeah. At one point, Karis was like, my friends have a big house, and I kind of want to go play with that. And then all her friends come here, and they're just like, we want to come and play at her house. So she's starting to realize that she does have this special space that, even though it's different, she's not feeling like left out from it.
We were living outside of Seattle, and I owned a house. We remodeled that, made it exactly the way we wanted. I didn't think I was ever going to move. It was our forever house, and nothing's forever, I guess. So. I'd always woodwork. That was my passion. But it was easier to make money as an auto body technician. But that's a big commitment to do 60 hours a week doing that, and it's very hard on the body.
I don't know, was it 7 or 8 years together? He had a couple of hernia injuries. I had a couple of medical things myself, so we kind of decided to switch gears a little bit. We got started so young in such a mainstream community and culture that we go, wait a second, this is our chance to kind of live the what ifs, kind of go out and explore.
All right, everybody hold on. It was kind of serendipitous how this bus found us. I went back to school. I was going to school for design drafting, focusing in architecture. By the time that ran out, we were just kind of wondering what were we going to do.
I'm looking there. Okay.
I was traveling a bit in my Ford Ranger. In the back of it, it's just 6 feet in the back, and it was a little tight for Mira and I for trips.
He thought we could live out of this. I was like,
Your grandma got a kick out of that that I wanted you to live in the back of that truck. She thought that was so funny.
Yeah, I know. It's like, no, I'm high maintenance. The school bus will have to do. So Jeremy found this sweet beast.
Started looking for vans.
Yeah.
And vans were pretty costly, especially a camper van or something like that. And I was driving down the road and I saw a bunch of these, and I stopped and asked him, what's the deal with those? Come to find out it was an auction lot. This one had a new motor in it, only had 10,000 miles on it, and a rebuilt transmission. Very fuel efficient, especially because it's a new motor. And so we started bidding, and we got it really inexpensive. I think it was
$1,700.
Yeah.
We had for about a year or so, we planned on changing our inertia from our jobs and our car payments and our houses and any credit card.
So this is a bed, and it lifts up, so there's storage underneath.
Oh, really? It took us about a year of deciding that we wanted to do something different, saving. But if we bought a van, we would have spent most of that and just be sitting at home with this awesome new van.
The headboards, we designed that in there. That's Mira's massage table, and so it slides right out. Part of our traveling, we exchanged room and board for Mira would earn money with the table. These are just simple plywood, nothing too extravagant. This is a cutting board that also fits right in there. Yeah, this is a beech wood. One of the things I do is wood countertops. This is a really inexpensive. We never get the good stuff, but it's held up. It's been great. We've taken it to desert, to northern Cali in the rainforest. It expands, it contracts, and it has held up remarkably well. Underneath, we have a hot water tank that runs on the diesel engine, or you can plug it in if you're at a spot where it plugs in. We have a freshwater tank. I use a specific hose so it doesn't... You remember when you were a kid and you drink out of the hose and it tasted like hose? It doesn't taste like that. People always ask us, where's the shower? We've only used this once. There's a coupler that goes on there. A lot of our traveling was on the coast. And along the coast, there's always places to shower, at a gym, at a beach. So this goes out the window. You can just open up the window and then you set your temperature here and then just pass that out the window. And this light actually came out of a van again that was in a junkyard. This light here, and then also both of these lights came out of the van again. It's a 3-way fridge, so it runs on propane, 12 volt or 120 volt.
It just fit perfectly so that the countertops sitting right on top of it wouldn't cover the windows. So we were looking, we always seem to be working with very, very, very small clearances.
Yeah, the design for this was difficult because with the propane, it has to vent outside, but it's inside. So if you notice, this drawer isn't very deep, and that's because the vent is going from the outside. Because I had gone to school for design and drafting, you can draw a lot of this and work out your problems first. As you can see, the height is just right to the window. Believe it or not, all these drawer boxes are Bloom tandem box. So I just built the carcass or the case and put these pre-made drawer boxes in it. Of course, I built the fronts. I built this to match that. So you can put an insert in this fridge. That's when you're driving, just to keep it closed. This thing here, I think it was a bread box. We got it at a barter fair. Gloves in there now. I've been looking for those. Probably why they're in there, because the fire's right there. So this, I have a stack. So this is a boat stove. The insurance companies wouldn't insure boats with solid fuel heaters in them. So I saw somebody that had one, and it's old. I found it in a boat junkyard. And it's designed to burn coal, but we just burn hardwood in it, or pellets.
And it cranks.
It gets really
Yeah, you can have all the doors and windows open with that thing burning. We had a party in here, like probably 12 people, and had that thing going and all the windows open. It was so fun.
And it's really nice because there's this double air gap. When hot air rises, so it'll rise out here, and then it pulls air behind there, and I put little spacers in there. The wood behind it doesn't even get warm. And mean, I could rest my hand on that all day long. It's even cold down here. Really impressed with this thing. Not afraid of it catching anything on fire. The fire's burning fully now, and can't even see any smoke coming off that, just heat rays. This thing really burns efficient. We also have a vent fan, and it's thermostatically controlled. And we did 10 days off the battery bank that was here and never had to recharge once. And we had that thing going almost the entire time.
And no issues with humidity or...
The wood stove helps with that because it's such a dry heat. So this toilet's really basic. It's just a bucket. It's a sawdust toilet. I have a fan in the roof, and so there's a negative pressure on this box. Here's the fan that pulls anything out, and it puts a negative pressure on this box, so any air that's in this small space goes through the gaps. You see I left a little gap here, and so there's a negative pressure on that box, so it can never come back.
But doesn't come back out.
And because there's warm, even when it's really cold, to compost you need a certain amount of temperature, and because the hot water tank is just on the other side of it, it always keeps it at a good temperature for composting.
It's the only place Jeremy can stand up is in the emergency exit. Whereas I am like, this bus, it was so sweet of him. Like, there were other buses we could have thought they could stand up in, but I can like kind of, I'm exactly under, so I hope I don't grow. It's not likely.
The cool bus.
So the letter's dropped.
Yeah, it happened organically. It stuck, and then now I see a ton of cool buses, and I'm sure they were cool before that one. This, I was looking to build kind of like just a shed, something under 200 square feet, but it had to be movable. Here I am at the container yard. I've been on the search for the cheapest container I can find, and right here next to the gate I think I might have found my match. This one definitely has a lot of damage to work around. Those doors are hammered. These containers are bought to cut apart and use for parts to repair other containers. They no longer needed them and wanted them gone, so they were really cheap. They're doing some pretty major repairs down at the local marina. The owner, Mark, told me to feel free to take any scrap wood lying around. We even found something that'll work for setting the container on. I wasn't really looking for a container, it just kind of happened that way. They're very movable. I had a guy, a shed mover I was talking to while I was designing a shed, so he would be able to take it if I ever had to move it. So the project became a container project. I know it looks pretty bad right now, but it'll be quite a bit different when I'm done. I cut the panels out because for this to go down the road, it has to be under 102 inches wide. And to get an insulation cavity, I would either sacrifice room on the inside or the exterior. So to keep it under 102 inches wide, now, I actually cut all the metal out of the walls, which people say it gets really weak, and they're right. But I welded in 16 gauge metal studs all the way through that a friend of mine had gotten for free because he has a metal framing company, and his supplier ended up with an extra material at the end of the year. So I'm gonna make stuff out of the rest of the panels that I cut out. The windows were reclaimed. The whole design started, I had these windows before I even had the container. And so I started by drawing those, and then everything else kind of evolved from there. So many container designs were very square. You can see there's not a straight line on anything. The original idea was to clean up the front of it and make it look nice. And then the second thought was like, no, because this is what it is, you know. And then I just wrapped it in wood. I'll make the rest look nice. So there were a few spots of surface rust, and it really wasn't a big deal. These shipping containers are made from a steel called Corten, and it reacts a lot like copper, where the rust or the patina on the outside works as a protective layer to protect the metal underneath. But I just wanted to make sure, so I went ahead and ground it out and primed it. So this stuff I'm pouring out here is a mixture of bentonite clay and asphalt emulsion. It's made for waterproofing the inside of flower boxes and such, and also for waterproofing basements. They call it a damp proofer. It has a green roof, and that was kind of an experiment. This here is some geotextile filter fabric. So a friend of mine does nursery type work. He had all this potting soil left over that he gave me. It saved me quite a few ladder trips. So what I'm building here is the false roof. And this actually comes apart in 4 different pieces. So if I ever need to transport the container, the roof panels will all come apart. It's hard to explain how satisfying it was to go from dirt to turf in just a couple hours. A lot of people use succulents and stuff, but I've seen grass grow on concrete, so I figured, you know, grass will grow anywhere on the earth and would also grow on top of a container, and it just took right off. And it doesn't get very tall, and I think that's because I only have about 8 inches of trough up there, and I think maybe the roots only go so far, and then it doesn't get any taller. Little plants and stuff just grow up there. And I assume it's coming from the birds up there eating the worms, because I have inoculated it with some of those red wigglers from our compost. With a green roof, as you water it, that water evaporates and it creates a natural cooling effect, an evaporative cooling. The original design was going to have a bump out, a bay window, but then I wanted to keep kind of like there's a bus popping out the front of a house. So I wanted a container popping out the front of a shed. I'm trying to design a kit that is user-friendly, that somebody else could do, that doesn't need welding. It's rivet and a structural adhesive that would hold it together, so you can turn shipping containers into having green roofs easily. But that's one of 1,000 projects I'm kind of playing with. This is one of my designs. I called it the manly window treatment. It's actually drop cloth for like painting and some leather straps, and it's nice and thick. I sewed a packing blanket inside of it so it blocks sound. It's insulative because the windows are single pane because they're over 100 years old. And then I kind of just built this device here that kind of just friction fits. It's definitely a tight workspace, but I can build full cabinets in here. I built this cabinet in here. Also, this whole thing is on these rollers, so if I need to get to the back side, I can pull it out.
What do you think of shipping containers for uses in architecture?
I guess it depends on what you want. I know, you know, you're pretty much totally rebuilding it to please the building department for the engineering and stuff. Because I have tools in here, I don't want people breaking in. And so this is the metal I cut out of the container. And it's very rough. It's not an aesthetic thing. It's just there for security. So when I leave, I have these bolts. containers. They really make sense in places like Hawaii where you don't need insulation. They're very secure. And then you have a solid thing. Yeah, because you can't get through that. Like, and there's still a room so I could look out, but nobody's crawling through there yet. I don't know, because I've seen a lot of them that probably were worth it. They were individual. They weren't just this cookie cutter thing. So for that, yeah, I think I think they're totally worth it. Aesthetically, I wanted a really wide door to get everything proportionate, looking outside, but a really wide door would have hit the table saw. And so I built this French door. This was used hardware. This piece was broken, so I had a piece of metal and I just cut it out and ground it until it fit. If you see there's plugs here, this was another concept. Cedar's a tone wood, so they make different instruments out of it. So with these plugs, it's still unfinished. I have rods going through them, and this was going to be a musical door, so it was going to have one tone here, a different tone here, and a different tone there. And I was tensioning these rods to get those tones, but the more I tensioned them, the more dull it got. It didn't sing. But that was a concept of a singing door. So if somebody stopped by, that would have been 6 notes. So if somebody was really musically talented, they would have been able to come and play me a tune. But it didn't work. It's a prototype. So that's kind of my tinkering. They're prototypes, I guess, or tinkering. You're working with them. You're tinkering with them until they become something. Here's a chair I'm designing. This is a library chair, so it folds up into a stool. Here's a set of shelves. To make money as a craftsman, you have to either have strong designs or be a problem solver. Yeah, this is a project I'm working on right now for a kitchen. It's a small space. And so I solve a lot of problems for people who have space problems.
This is the bunkhouse build-out. I had started by making a few simple drawings. So up until this point, this entire project was built by high school students. When they were finished with it, my client bought it from the school, and up until this point had been using it for her writing studio. But she has bigger plans for it. She's giving it to her granddaughters. She really wanted them to have a space of their own when they came for sleepovers. The new design will incorporate 2 bunks with drawers for storage down below. They will access the upper bunk with this tonsu staircase that also serves as storage. For the top bunk, I used 3/4-inch ply that will be supported by these ledgers. Then adding the front panels and scribing them to fit. So I never really thought that turn woodworking into a career. It's something I've always just kind of done on the side. I've always fixed and built things for people. I've always done work on the side, helping people with their construction stuff or building things out of wood or tuning machines or fixing stuff. And so it's always been something I've done. And so when you're not working like a 9-to-5, you still have to make money, and you just kind of do what you kind of know how to do. And so it's just something I've kind of fallen into. In transitioning into building stuff for myself to building stuff for others, it's never really been conscious. I've never really had a business plan or anything like that. I just kind of an opportunist. So somebody needs something built, well, and that just keeps me going. So what I love most about building things or woodworking, it's kind of like this fire inside me. It's this burning desire. Like sometimes it keeps me up at night thinking about how to do it. I can't wait to wake up and go do what I've been thinking about. And then when I'm in it, it takes my entire mind to think about, the methods, the next step, the materials, that I'm so focused that it's almost a meditation, and the rest of the world just kind of dissolves. It is good to focus really deeply on something. especially if it's a passion, you can put your heart into it. That's what I enjoy most about woodworking and building things. I don't know why interest your audience. This is another container. So this is where I do a lot of repairs and metal work. My welder and everything comes out of here, and I store all my chemicals in here. All my